Hey everyone, it's Mike here from the SEO Pub. And in this video, I want to talk about a use for ChatGPT for SEO that I think a lot of people are kind of overlooking or really don't realize the full potential of. And that's in coding your own simple tools that you can use for things that you're doing every day in SEO. What do I mean by that? Well, let's show an example. One thing that I use a lot in Search Console is regex expressions in order to narrow down the results that I'm looking at inside of Search Console. So, for example, one thing that I'll often do is I look for questions that are showing up as searches in Search Console: who, what, where, when, why, those kind of questions, to make sure that we have content that's adequately answering those questions. Well, that writing those expressions can be kind of a pain in the butt, but there's a simple way to do it. Creating a tool inside of ChatGPT, and I'm going to show you how you can do that. So, as an example, I already wrote the prompt that I want to use here, but telling it that I want to code a tool for a web page that will allow visitors to enter in multiple words or phrases line by line in a text box, and will then combine those terms into a regex expression in this format. And I give the format here where term 1, term 2, term 3, term 4, and term 5 are the inputs from the visitors. Can you code this for me? And one thing I think is important is when you can give ChatGPT examples of what you want the end result to look like, and it will help. I've noticed that it helps a lot in the coding process as you're working through this. So let ChatGPT do its thing here. Okay, so it writes this code for us, and just to check it out, we're gonna copy the code, and this is just a basic HTML tester. You can find a ton of these out there. It's just a little easier to work in initially than putting it into a live website. And if we run it, so we do who, what, where, why, when, and there it spits out the expression for us. Now, I don't like this. It's not quite what I want. So I'm going to ask ChatGPT to make some edits. So we're going to rewrite the code and add a copy to clipboard button that will copy the output to the clipboard. And one thing you can also do then is ask it to style it better. We'll tell it to use green for the buttons with white text. Okay, and there it's written the code for us, added in some styling elements, and we can take a look at what this looks like. Copy the code, paste it in here. There, so now we got something that looks a little better, and we can try this. Let's do who, what, where, when, why. And it spits out the regex, and now it has a copy to clipboard function, so we can click a button, copy the clipboard, and that way we can easily paste it where we need it. So that's one example of something you can do. And this is something that I do a lot in my daily SEO work, that I either write this code by hand or I have to go find a generator somewhere else that will do this easily for me. And you can do other simple tools like this really easily inside ChatGPT. So for example, let's say that we wanted to do another thing that I do all the time is I'm rewriting title tags. Now, most of the clients I work with, I don't have access to their website. I'm not going inside the website to. I know there's, like, if you're on a WordPress site, Yoast will do this, and RegMath, SEO Press, all the plugins will usually do this. But a lot of times when I'm generating new title tags for clients, I'm giving them an Excel spreadsheet or a Google Doc with the changes that need to be made. and I need to know the length of the title tag. So we could easily code, and there's a ton of these out there, but every time I need to use one, I have to go Google search it and find it. We create a simple tool that will count characters for us for title tags, or you could use it for meta descriptions. So, for example, let's tell ChatGPT that I want to create a web page where visitors can enter a string of text, and the output will tell them how many characters are in that text. And depending, a lot of people say the ideal length for title tags is 65 to 70 characters. Obviously, in reality, it's a pixel count that Google uses for how big your title tag is, but 65 to 70 is usually kind of a good guide. So let's say I want it to compare the character count against a base of 70. If the characters are less than 70, the output should be highlighted in green. If the output is greater than 70, if the character count is greater than 70, the output should be highlighted in red. Make the buttons blue with white text. Can you code this for me? Okay, now sometimes ChatGPT will do this where it starts to say, I can't create code for you, which I don't know why it does this, because it can create code. So I just tell it to stop generating, go back and have it try again. And sometimes I have to do this 2 or 3 times, and then it will start generating the code. Now, one thing it's doing different here, and it does this sometimes, it will start generating the code as the HTML, then the CSS, and then it's going to give me the JavaScript to create the functions. If it does this, that's okay. You can easily ask it to combine the code. Okay, now combine those into a code for a single web page. And I'm going to copy that, and we can come over here, go back into our test editor, run it. Now, one thing it didn't do in this one is it didn't create a title for us at the top of what this is. Usually it will do that, but let's say we were creating the ultimate guide to SEO. Learn how to beat the competition. Submit. It tells us that we're at 61 characters. It's all green. Let's add something. There's our new title tag. Now if we submit it, it highlights it in red, tells us we're over the character count that we wanted. You can create something similar to just give different parameters to make it for a meta description. You could create this. Great use for this would be tweets, which you have the tweet limit of 280 characters. You could set something up to do that for you. Anything that you might need character counts for. You could also have it code the exact same thing, but ask it to count words if that's something that interests you for certain maybe comparisons against other copies of text and you want to see what the word count is quickly. You can create a tool that will do that. There's a lot of like really simple things that I do regularly in SEO that I use these tools on other sites for, but this is allowing me to, without having to get into the nitty gritty of creating the code. And people who don't even know how to code really could do a lot of this stuff. And people who don't really know much about coding could create a lot of these kind of tools for themselves, put them on their own sites very easily. I'm pretty good with HTML. I know CSS. JavaScript, I could use a little bit of work, but what I've been putting together, I can show you here at the SEO Pub. So I have the regex generator, like what I showed, been creating that, title tag counter, meta description counter. I also created something that converts things to title case. So for example, if I take this and let's change a few things here. This will take this string of text and it'll capitalize the first letter of the words. So I can change it and it spits it out here and I can copy it to clipboard and now I have it in title case, which is really useful for when you're creating title tags or headings. Something really simple I did that I do with a calculator all the time, but this just makes it easier, is calculating percentage change. So if I wanted to, if we start with 500 and we end up at 8,213, it'll calculate for me that the percentage increase was 1562. On the other hand, if it was 15,000, it'll tell me the percent decrease was -44. I use this a lot for, sometimes I have to handwrite some reports for different boards and executive teams. A lot of, dashboards and things have the percentage change in things, but sometimes I need to use that for some handwritten reports that I need to build for, like I said, for exec teams and for boards. And this can kind of come in handy. So all kinds of things you can do with ChatGPT to build these kind of simple tools to save you time. I'm working on one right now for generating FAQ schema. You could easily create one where it would have the fields to enter for local business schema, where you'd put in the business name, the street address, city, state, zip, phone number, and anything else that you want to put in there, and it'll build out the local business schema for you. You could do it for product pages, any kind of schema that you're using. You could easily build a tool here that will generate all the schema for you. When you just input the fields that you need. So there's a lot of cool things you can do like this with ChatGPT that I think people are missing and probably don't realize how simple it is to build these things. You saw I created the character counter and this regex expression creator. It took me like 5 minutes, and the thing that took the longest was just sitting there waiting for ChatGPT to spit out the code. A couple tips if you are going to use ChatGPT to create some and code some tools like this. As I mentioned when I was showing you the regex example, it's a great idea to give it the desired layout in the prompt that you give it, so it knows what it's working towards. If you're creating like an FAQ schema generator, show it what you want the FAQ schema to look like at the end. Be as specific as you can, and remember that ChatGPT, it's a conversation going back and forth. So just like here, it spit out this first version of the code, which looked like this, but you can easily tell it then, hey, I don't like the look of that. Can you make it look more professional? Make the buttons green with white text, and you could get even a lot more specific than that. Like I could tell it, I want a gray background. You can use actual hexadecimal codes for different colors that you want it to use. You can tell it what fonts to use. You can tell it to dress things up however you want. You can tell it that you want the input boxes bigger or smaller, and you can keep working through it to get it to where you want. Of course, you can also go in and just manually enter the code once you have the code. If you do know a little bit of coding, this is a lot faster. Even if you do know coding and could code something like this yourself, This is a lot faster than starting from scratch. This gives you a great starting point. You can go in and edit it to meet your specific criteria. So just a really easy and great use for ChatGPT coding these tools. And I'll put the link to this. I'm going to be adding other tools to this page. I'll put the link to it in the video description. You're more than welcome to use it yourself. If there's something that you'd like to see added to the page, I'm more than happy to take a look at it and see if it's something we can do easily and get it up there if people would find it useful. So that's it for this video. If you haven't already, make sure you head over to the SEOpub.com, sign up for the email list where I send out tips and ideas like this every single week. Also, it really helps out if you found this useful, give the video a thumbs up and make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the next one.